Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about the OPI Fall 2016 Washington DC collection, and including the 3 limited edition shades, there are 15 cream polishes for Fall 2016. There's one that has an itty bitty little bit of shimmer in it, but the rest of them are creams, and for me this is like a dream come true because cream is my very favorite polish formula. There aren't any kind of like weird glitters in here. They're really not playing with anything new to them. They're really sticking with their great cream formula, and so that actually makes me really happy. There are some really gorgeous shades. We're gonna get it right into it. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Please subscribe if you aren't subscribed. That will just let you know when I put out a new video. On my channel, I do live application of pretty much every nail polish collection that I can get my hands on, indie and mainstream. And so today is just like all the other reviews on my channel, we're gonna do live application. So what that means is I'm gonna show you how these apply on my nails in real time and talk to you about the polish as I'm applying it so that you can really see how it's gonna go on, and you're not just gonna look at a picture from me and kind of trust that what I'm saying is true. You're gonna be able to see it for yourself and decide based upon that whether or not you need this polish. If you are interested in some dupes or comparisons for the polishes in this collection, which there are a few, some of these are very dupeable. I'm just gonna talk about the ones in OPI's own line, because these can pretty much all be duped if you go in every single polish, because they're all just creams. But we're gonna talk about that at the end, so you can stay tuned for that later if you are interested. I did want to quickly mention I am in a temporary space right now. My lighting is a little bit different both for the live application portion and for this portion, and if you hear any loud banging, I'm currently in an apartment that has an upper floor where our neighbors are quite noisy. So please bear with me. This is a temporary space and I'm going to be moving back to a more permanent filming location in the next month or so. But for now, this is what we have. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so the first one I want to talk about is one of the limited edition polishes. So this one is called Live in the Gray, and live is in quotation marks. So if you aren't aware, the beauty ambassador that's working with OPI in this collection is Kerry Washington, and also if you aren't aware, she's in a TV show called Scandal, and it's about, you know, all different kinds of happenings in Washington DC and with the president and everything, and her name in that show is Olivia, and she's goes by the name Liv. So that's just a little history here. Some of these polishes are going to have obviously to do with Washington DC, and some very specifically with the show that Kerry Washington is in. So this one is one of her special edition polishes, and Live in the Gray is a nice deep gray. It actually feels like it had a little bit of green in it or something. It has a little bit of something going on in there where it's not just a straight up gray, like a bland gray. This definitely had something interesting. I love gray anyway. It's one of my very favorite polishes to wear. This has a very great typical 2-coat formula for OPI creams. Actually really nothing in this whole collection, we'll go ahead and say that right now, really disappointed me. I thought all of the formulas were really great. As you're seeing here, I'm doing 2 coats for you and then a swatch photo. And so yeah, definitely really enjoyed this. And like I mentioned earlier, if you want to see any dupe alerts, you can stay tuned for that at the end of the video. All right, next up was a polish I was really thrilled to see in this collection because I am a yellow polish lover, and this is a very interesting, almost mustard. It's not quite mustard. It's like, it's between sunflower and mustard. This is really gorgeous. It's called Never a Dullest Moment, like the airport. And this one, as in typical yellow form, it's not quite opaque enough on 2 coats. It's still just a little bit streaky, but you could pull it off at 2 coats. You see me swatch it here just at 2, and that's what the picture is going to be as well. If you are really a stickler for the opacity, you'll want to probably do a 3rd coat. By the way, I should mention that every single photo here is going to be pictured with Super Chick Lacquer Liquid Macro Top Coat on top of all of the polishes. None of them really dried dull or anything, but I did want to give them a nice glossy finish, which is how I would normally wear them for their photos as well. All right, next up we have the teal in the collection, and there are 3 polishes that kind of dance between green and blue. This is the one that is the most blue in the collection. Nothing else gets quite as close to blue as this, but I did really feel like this was a teal. And this is called CIA equals Color is Awesome. And this is just absolutely gorgeous. I do have a dupe for this though, if you want to look towards the end of the video for that. This is beautiful at 2 coats. This is really luscious. This is actually very similar to the polish that China Glaze put out in their Fall Rebel collection this year as well. I did love the application of this, and I had no staining. right, next up we have this gorgeous kind of going towards a jade green. This is just delicious. This is called Stay Off the Lawn with 2 exclamation points. There is something actually pretty similar in OPI's line to this already, but I didn't have anything that was an exact dupe in OPI's line, but something similar. This had a gorgeous 2-coat formula, just like the rest of them. I really enjoyed this quite a bit. All right, we're gonna round out the greens in the collection by looking at this beautiful olivey, militant green, olivey if that's a word. This is called Suzi, the First Lady of Nails, and as you know, there's always a polish in every collection that has the name Suzi in it for the founder of OPI. But this is just gorgeous. Actually, on the first coat, you definitely need 2 on this. Some of you might want a 3rd because it doesn't reach full opacity for 2 to maybe 3 coats, just because this one had a little bit of a thinner formula. It depends on how heavy of a hand you go with it, really. This is really, really beautiful. I didn't have anything exactly like this, but there are some similar things. But I think this is one of my top picks out of the collection for a unique color. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. All right, so there are 3 kind of berry red shades in the collection. Nothing straight up red, but let's start with the brightest one. So this one is actually pretty bright for a fall collection for OPI. This is called Madam President, and would be beautiful as a lippy too. This is really, really gorgeous. 2-coat formula. I actually really enjoyed that there was something kind of brighter in here. I really, really like this. As you can see, it's not a super unique color, but they did a great job with formula as usual. All right, the next 2 kind of red berry shades I feel like are very, very similar to each other. I don't really think that you need both of them. In fact, all 3 of these red berries are pretty similar to each other, that if you aren't crazy for this kind of color, I don't really think you need all of them. Specifically these last 2 though. So first up we have OPI by popular vote. And this is the lighter of the 2 that are really similar to each other. And this is just kind of a sweetened light mulberry kind of. It is really beautiful. I really liked the color. So yeah, we'll go ahead and finish looking at this, and then I'll show you the next one and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so the 3rd berry shade, as you see, is just a little bit darker. It's called We the Female. As I was swatching these and when I was going through my camera roll to get ready to make this video, I actually had a hard time differentiating between these 2 darker berry red shades. That's how similar they are. It actually felt to me like they made one batch of it and then they went to go make another batch, and it was so like it was meant to be one, but then they decided to make the second batch. It was a little bit different, so they made it a whole different polish. You know what I mean? Any of you polish makers out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's just so similar. It literally just feels a tiny bit darker. It's like in the exact same tone of color. So anyway, We the Female, it is really pretty. It's just like maybe just a little bit more severe version of the one we just looked at because it's a little bit darker. Gorgeous formula though as well. So I did really like it. I just think it's a little bit redundant. All right, so next up we have this beautiful purple, and this is kind of a blackberry shade. It's not really a grapey purple. This is called Kerry Blossom, so this is another one of the limited edition polishes. This is just gorgeous. I could see Kerry Washington wearing this and just rocking it. However, I do have an exact dupe for this for you, so definitely check out the dupes portion if you're interested in that. This does have a beautiful 2-coat formula, so if you don't have anything exactly like this, then I would definitely recommend it. All right, so last up we're going to be talking about all the neutrals here. There are 6 neutral shades, which will make all of you neutral lovers, very happy. I actually really enjoyed this portion of the collection as well because none of these are really, they're not redundant like the pinky, mauvey, berry ones. Okay, so this first one is the darkest one. And this one is called Shh, It's Top Secret. And I thought when I was looking at this online, I thought it was actually going to be black, but it's just a very, very dark chocolatey brown, super, super dark. It doesn't have any shimmer in it though, like some of the polishes that are in this shade that OPI has. There are some things within OPI's line that are pretty close to this, which we'll talk about later. But this has a gorgeous 2-coat formula. I really liked this on. I put this on and thought this will look very attractive on a lot of people. So yeah, I think this polish is absolutely gorgeous. All right, the next brown shade, this one is definitely just like a cool toned milk chocolate, and it is called Squeaker of the House. So I guess this is supposed to look like a mousy color. Yeah, this is beautiful as well. Gorgeous at 2 coats, delicious formula. It's definitely good for anybody that has cooler skin tone because it does have some cool vibes in it. So yeah, really pretty. All right, the third brown shade is that one that I've been wearing on my nails in this video, and it is called Inside the ISABELLEtway, and this is the 3rd limited edition polish from Kerry Washington. And this one is kind of a peanut butter color. I really, really liked this. Like when you're looking at your eyeshadows, the color that looks like a peanut butter eyeshadow is just really great in the crease. That's what it makes me think of when I look at this polish. Just absolutely gorgeous. There are some things within OPI's line that are actually pretty similar to this already, which we will cover later. This has a gorgeous 2-coat formula. Really enjoyed this. All right, next up we're going to talk about the lightest polish in the collection, and there's only one in this collection that's like this. This is the only one that has just a tiny bit of shimmer. It's just like barely there to where when you're painting it, you can see it just a little bit, but when it's on your nail, you really don't see it. All it does is make the nail kind of just feel a little bit more alive, like a little bit more glossy. This is called Pale to the Chief, and this was one of my favorites. I really like this. Again, like the yellow, you could probably do 2 to 3 coats on this. But if you have a really nice steady hand, you might be able to get away with just 2. I'm just showing you 2 on on the pictures on everything. So if you see the way I've photographed it and you like that, it is just 2 coats. I thought I wasn't gonna like this because of the shimmer, but I actually really, really loved it. There are some things that I have that are somewhat dupes for this that don't have shimmer. So if you don't even notice the shimmer and you think that this is pretty similar to something in your collection, you are probably right. The only thing that's different is that it has a little bit of shimmer. All right, we are getting down to the last 2 polishes in the collection, and this first one here of the last 2 is called Freedom of Peach, and this is definitely a peachy shade, but it's not the kind of peach I usually think of that we see in like spring collections and stuff. This is like a warm peach. It's like a peach going towards pumpkin a little bit. This was really delicious. Another really great warm shade. If you have warm skin tone, this would look just absolutely divine on you. As with a lot of the polishes in this collection, actually, I really liked this rendition of peach, and when I looked at it, I thought, yeah, that is actually very true to peach color. So I enjoyed that a lot. There's 3 that I will show you in the dupe portion that are very similar to this. However, this one has a little bit more warmth to it than any of those 3, and that is how they differentiate, but we will talk about that more later on. All right, last up, the last of the 15 polishes in the Washington DC collection. This is called Yank My Doodle. And this was a little bit hard. It was a difficult polish for me to kind of pin down what the shade was because it's like a very subtle, it's a great it's a great combo between a nude, a little bit of berry, and a pumpkin, I guess. This is really interesting. Yank My Doodle, I didn't have anything really that could dupe this. Anything that was close had a little bit of shimmer in it. So, I mean, of course, as you probably understand, as I've been talking about this in the entire video, I don't own every single OPI polish out there. So this is not a completely comprehensive dupe portion coming up. This is just comparisons of things that are in my stash. So anyway, yep, this is the last one, Yank My Doodle. Alright guys, so that rounds out the whole Washington DC collection for fall 2016 from OPI. I have to say, as a whole, I really enjoyed this collection. But like I said, I am a cream lover. And so that means that in some of the past collections, like specifically their holiday 2015, was a little bit of a disappointment to me because it had so much that was like the same kind of trying to do different variations of gray and silver with glitters and stuff in it. Just that's really not something that I'm interested in. These polishes are really just right up my alley. So for me, this was kind of like a dream come true collection for fall. I can see myself wearing every single one of these polishes. Yeah, definitely let me know in the comments which one is your favorite polish of the whole collection. It's really hard for me to pick a favorite, but I think for me, I would definitely pick up this yellow if you are a yellow lover. And the gray is a must-have for me because I absolutely adore grays. And I would probably pick up for sure this Militant green, but I think that the other two greens are pretty dupe worthy. We're gonna keep on talking about the dupes. Let's go ahead and go into the dupe portion of the video. If you're not interested in that, thank you for stopping by to spend some time with me today, and I really hope this video was helpful. All right, so here we're gonna look at the comparisons for Pale to the Chief. It's there on my middle finger. The thing that I actually thought was the closest was here on the pointer finger, and this is from last fall. This is Tiramisu for 2. However, as you can see, this is a little bit blush toned, and this one in the middle is a little bit peach toned in comparison. And then closest in the bottle next to that was over here, and this is You're So Vanilla. And as you can see, none of these are dupes, but these were what looked closest in the bottle to me that I wanted to show you. Everything else is either way too cool toned or way too warm toned. So, yep, there's that. Alright, so here's the comparison for Kerry Blossom. Again, it's here in the middle. So the polish that I have for you that is basically exactly the same is here on the pointer finger, and this is Skating on Thin Iceland from the Nordic collection. In order to have the same opacity as the one from this collection, Skating on Thin Iceland, you really do need 3 coats, but basically they're the same color once you have them, to full opacity. And the other polish that I wanted to compare it to is over here, and this is What's the Hatter with You from the Alice in Wonderland collection this year. And it's definitely more red based, but it is pretty similar. Definitely not a dupe, but pretty similar if you already have it. Alright guys, so the next comparison we're going to talk about is for CIA equals Color is Awesome, and that is the gray teal in the collection, and that's here on the middle finger. And the color in OPI's collection, or in OPI's line, that is very similar is this here on my ring finger, and it's called Ski Till We Drop. Ski Till We Drop. And they are very, very close. In person, it's hard to tell them apart. Ski Till We Drop, I think, has a little bit thinner formula and looks slightly more, just a tiny bit lighter, like barely. And I also noticed when I was looking back at my footage that this one here, CIA equals Color is Awesome, looked a lot more gray in the photos and in the live swatching than it looks in person. I did just want to mention that real quick. But, so anyway, there's the dupe I have for you. Alright, so the next comparison we're going to talk about is for Stay Off the Lawn, 2 exclamation points here on my middle finger. I have noticed OPI has been using more exclamation points lately, and this one has 2, so they're real serious here. So the one that I'm comparing it with here is from OPI Amazon Amazoff, is on my 4th nail here. As you can see, they are not exact dupes. This one has quite a bit more blue in it, whereas the one from this collection has more green, but they are the most similar in my collection and the ones that I thought people would be wondering about most, so I wanted to go ahead and show you how they compare. So the next polish I have to compare for you is again here on my middle finger, and this is It's Top Secret, and I want to compare it to 2 things. So over here on my ring finger, I have Get in the Espresso Lane. By the way, these are my 2 darkest browns in my collection that I have to share with you as comparisons, which is why we're going over them. I don't feel like either of them are exact dupes, and I'm going to tell you why if you can't already see it, which you probably can. Anyway, over here, Get in the Espresso Lane. Neither of these 2 have quite as nice a formula, in my opinion, as the one in this year's collection. But the espresso polish has a little bit of green in it. It definitely has something interesting in there. Still very lovely, but it definitely has a different undertone. And then over here, Suzi Loves Cowboys, also very beautiful. It's just lighter. You can see that it's much more easily recognizable as a brown instead of like an almost black brown, which is what It's Top Secret is. So there are those comparisons for you. The next comparison we're going to talk about is Squeaker of the House, and it's here on my middle finger, and I wanted to show it to you against these two because these were the ones in my collection that I was wondering about. Now that they're on my nail, it's very clear that they're not dupes, but I still wanted to show them to you. So over here on my pointer finger is You Don't Know Jack, or Jock, You Don't Know Jock. And as you can see, it is a little bit darker, a little bit more cool toned, but they are very similar. And then over here we have How Great Is Your Dane, and definitely less cool toned, definitely darker. But in any case, there you have those. Next, we're going to talk about Suzi, the First Lady of Nails. That's here on my middle finger, one of my favorites from the collection. And I want to compare it to Uh-Oh, Roll Down the Window, which is here on my ring finger. As you can see, they are not dupes. But since OPI's line isn't overly heavy with greens, this was actually the closest thing that I had to compare it to, and I was pretty sure people were going to wonder how they compared. So you can see the obvious differences. Lighter, there's some more yellow in there. But yeah. Next up, we're going to look at comparisons for another of the limited edition polishes. This is inside the ISABELLEtway here on my middle finger. One of my favorites out of the collection, actually, but I was quite surprised to find that OPI has almost an exact dupe already in its collection. This is Iceburgers and Fries from 2 falls ago, and I don't know. I mean, you can tell a subtle difference, but I have to say I was a little bit disappointed to see that one of my favorites out of the collection was so nearly duped. Now, Iceburgers and Fries is just a tiny bit darker, teensy tiny bit, but they're basically the exact same. The one from this year's collection does have a great formula, but you know what? This one also does have a great formula. So you probably don't need to pick up the one from this year, especially since it's limited edition, if you're having a hard time finding it, if you already have Iceburgers and Fries. This one over here is just on my nail for good measure. I wanted to know how Sant'Antonio stacked up against this polish. They are clearly nothing alike, but I wanted to try them out anyway. So next I want to talk about another one of the most interesting polishes in the collection for its singularity in OPI's line. We're talking about Freedom of Peach here on my middle finger. So here are the other peaches that I have, well, you know, kind of peaches, that I have in my collection. As you can tell, they all have much more white in them than the polish in this collection. So let's just go from this side all the way over to the pinky. So this one first is my Tie Crooked. Obviously, they're not anything alike, but you know, just for the sake of this portion of the video, I really wanted to show you everything in my collection that is, you know, somewhat a peach shade. So let's move on to this one over here. This one is Crawfishing for a Compliment. You know, a beautiful, beautiful kind of peach, but not the warm kind that we see in this year's collection. So lastly over here, this is a Great Opportunity from last year's fall collection. A beautiful blush toned pink, so gorgeous, but nothing like this one. It's like they took tan and mixed it with a peach. So beautiful. Last up, I want to talk about these 3 versions of a mulberry here that the collection gave us, and this one over here is just in here for a frame of reference. It is Mad for Madness' Sake, and I wanted to give you something that was kind of close in brightness to this beautiful Madam President here, but you know, obviously it's much more pink and much brighter. So I just want to go over these last 3 on this side and just show you, I guess, both how they are similar but how they are very different. I know I talked in the video about how these last 2 are so similar that you really don't need them both. In person, they actually look quite a bit more similar than they're showing up here on camera. But yeah, let's just talk about them really quick. So I do feel like I didn't have anything in my collection to compare these with. They're either all much redder, you know, they have much more red in them, or they have much more pink in them, or they have much more white in them. This one's getting close to a brick red, but it's not quite a brick red, you know what I mean? So these are all kind of versions of berry, but they have some tan in them, so they're almost more like a mulberry. So this one first, again, is called Madam President. I mean, the formula on all 3 of these, I wanted to gag, it was so good. So yeah, Madam President here, and then going next deeper is this OPI by popular vote. And like I said, it's just going deeper into the mulberry range. It's almost looking a tiny bit grapey, but you know, not really. In person, like I said, these last 2 look really similar, and the last one is called We the Female. And it's just basically a deeper version of this. It just has some more brown in it. So yeah, there you see them next to each other, and they all three have an amazing formula. So basically, if there is a polish that you did not see in the dupe portion of this video, that means that either I have something that is in like a near range, but it wasn't close enough to warrant really giving it a spot here in the dupes comparison portion, or I don't have that polish to physically compare for you. So basically, the yellow, the dark gray, and the last one, Yank My Doodle, I really didn't have anything super duper similar that I felt like was worth your time looking at. I think that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, spending a little time with me talking about nail polish. Boy, I love fall collections. It is so exciting. I'm definitely ready for fall, one of my favorite times of the year. I hope you're having a really great day. I will see you back for my next review. Don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already, and take care. Bye! There are two orange toned polishes in the collection, one that's definitely more like of a corally orange, and then more of a, you know, a orange sun-kissed orange. Let's talk about this corally one first. This one's called Summer Means New Love, and yeah, it is what it looks like. It's just that bright and beautiful on the nail. I'm going to show you two coats.